All right. Welcome everyone to this session of the Wednesday sessions of the weekly debates. So the topic for this session is the value of human life is more than that of other organisms. Agree or disagree? So this is basically a continuation from the discussion that we had from the previous session on Saturday, where the topic was enforcement of birth control, especially among the poor, can lead to a better society or world. And at the end of that discussion, we were starting to sort of like uh, you know like basically take the discussion to a different direction, where I think somebody raised the question. I think it was Ashwin who raised the point about how we need to not have a human centric approach to this whole process, that curtailing human population can help other animals flourish. And from this, there was a kind of like an entirely new topic of debate that was made more attractive, because there was a lot of I think it's a contentious topic, right? The whole question of the value of human life is more than the value of other organisms. This is a in a certain sense, like a lot of our initiatives and a lot of our things that human beings do implicitly assumes that human life is more valuable. We do not react the same way if a chicken is killed or a cow is killed or even a chimpanzee or a tiger is killed, compared to how we would react when another human being is killed. So it raises this question, and obviously, when you look at it from a philosophical perspective, it actually makes you wonder, what is the actual worth of human life, and how do you measure the worth of a life? Is it because we are human beings that we value life more, or should it be considered like an equitable thing? So it's a very interesting discussion that we're going to be having today. As you know, basically we will be going on a turn-based approach to participate in the session. So you'll have like 3 to 5 minutes per session, per turn, and you can raise your hand by clicking on the reaction button down below to raise your hand, and you can get in the queue. So whoever first raise their hand will get the chance to speak first. So I see that Taiba, you've raised your hand. Please go ahead, Taiba.
Hi, everyone. Raghav, I want to clarify, is the topic specifically about abortion, or is it about just generally, because it says organisms, the life of other organisms. Does that also mean animals?
Okay, just so that everybody's on the same page. The whole topic is about the value of human life is more than the value of life of other organisms. So we're essentially talking about human life, the value of human life in comparison to the life of other organisms. So this is basically human versus animals kind of a debate, right? This is not about abortion.
Okay, great. Okay, so to me, when I look at the question, I feel that itself, the question assumes that the placement of the human on the food chain, like the question assumes that it makes the human more important, like as if it's of a higher or lesser value. But I don't believe that that's the case, because if we're looking at animals in the jungle, just purely from the animal standpoint, you get the food chain where the lion is called the king of the jungle because it eats all the animals below it on the food chain. But that doesn't mean that the value of the animals getting eaten is of less value. I feel that every animal has its role to play in the jungle and in the world, in the ecosystem. Same like elements in nature, we have the role of fire, water, wind, earth. It doesn't mean that one is more or less valuable than the other. So I don't agree that humans are more valuable, but I do believe that it's the circle of life to consume and benefit from what is available on earth, so long as nothing is wasted. That's my take. Thank you.
So just to clarify, like you're saying that you cannot like put the value of life in a hierarchy, that there is no such thing as like one being more valuable than the other, and everything has its place. So you can't really compare the value of life, is what you're saying.
That's correct. I don't feel that the value can really be compared, because life is life. It's just different organisms playing a role. But I do feel that animals can be eaten, because sometimes people have the belief that if you value animals, then they shouldn't be eaten. I do believe that they play a role, just as we play a role, because even when the human body decomposes, we feed trees, and then the trees are like getting minerals from us. So I feel that there is a circle of life, and that can be respected. It doesn't mean that because we eat meat that we are disrespecting the animal or value the animal less. It's just that we're seeing the circle of life play out, and we are partaking of it, so long as nothing is wasted.
All right, I see your point, but I do want to clarify the context of the debate a little bit. I don't know if if you guys have heard of this philosophical problem of like how there is a there is a fictional scenario where you have a train that is like approaching, and it is like branching into two different tracks. Of like one track, there's a one man who's stuck, who you know as a friend or something. Another track, there are four people there, and you have to make a decision of like pulling the lever to divert the train from either of those tracks. So you have a choice to make as to who gets killed in the situation. So you have an inherent comparison of life in a situation like this. So, and and a lot of instances in actual life, we do have places where we have to evaluate which is more important, right? And there is the question as to what is the worth of the life when you're making a decision that prioritizes human beings over other organisms. You have this inherent question in play. I mean, I understand the point that you're making, Taiba, but it is important to like get the context of this debate where we are assuming a situation where we are having to compare the lives of human beings versus the lives of other organisms. And in that situation, what is your decision favoring, right? So that is the scope of the debate. I see that Sandeep has also raised the question. So Sandeep, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the question itself and the debate itself is among the human beings, right? And I would say just not for a human being, any life form. If the same question is posed, it would obviously choose or value its own life more than anyone else.
Okay.
I would even agree to an extent where is it human life is better than other organisms? If the question is posed to an individual, that individual will eventually come to a conclusion where his own or her own life is more valuable than everybody else in the world. It's more like a coming from a fact that you have to. It is an inherent, how you say, character, let's say attribute every living form has, that it puts its own life above everything else. It doesn't matter what other life form thinks. It's all about the specific life form, the specific individual the question is posed to. But if, of course, if you ask, let's say if I'm the only one in a jungle and if there is a fox, if I probably cannot outrun a fox, right? So a fox will value its own life more than me. So it's about the question who is the person you're asking to. As because we are the people who are discussing about it or debating about it. Yes, of course, I would value human life more than anything else in the world. But when it comes to, let's say, if I have to choose between human and everything else, because I'm a human, I have a natural tendency to correlate my own life, my own anatomy. Let's say the way you would compare yourself or like relate yourself to another human being is much more deeper than if you would compare or like relate yourself to any other organism. So it is embedded into our psyche and of course our biological makeup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a part of our own psyche and the DNA itself that every life form chooses itself before or above everything else. So I would argue, yes, if the question itself is yes, I would value human life over better than or like I would say more valuable than anything else in the world. Let's say plants, even every other life form in the universe itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying your stance, Sandeep. I want to ask you like one hypothetical question. Okay, so let's say
Yes.
that you are emphasizing human life over the other organisms. That is clear. Now let's talk about like a situation where let's say that it's not a one-to-one comparison. Like let's say that you value. Let's say there's a human being whose life is at stake versus
Yes.
another situation there is a let's say 10,000 dogs or something.
Yes. Yes.
How would you rate that?
Yeah, I would choose a human being.
Okay, so you're okay with slaughtering 10,000 dogs versus saving one human being?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. All right,
Yeah.
so next we have Ashwin on the line. So Ashwin, yeah, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to say, first of all, animals feel pain and they have emotions too. This is what humans do to animals. One is I would categorize as intentionally and unintentionally. Intentionally, it is cruelty in factory farms, that is the slaughterhouses and the farms that are being raised itself. And number two is animal testing. Unintentionally is accidents like bird hits that you when you fly in the plane, and accidents on the roads and rails, and even at sea, where I have seen a whale being hit by a propeller, being cut by a propeller.
You've seen this in first-hand
First-hand images
Okay.
online.
Okay.
So in all the four modes of transport, air, rail, road, and sea, accidents do happen. And you were talking about a rocket launch in the previous debate. When the rocket is launched, I mean, the sound is just enormous, and it harms the environment. Like many animals around it go deaf, actually. This is what we do to it. So it is at the expense of our, I would say, our comfort that we are doing all this. Humans can live with minimal technology, but still we are doing this despite hurting animals. This topic will be repeated in the vegan session as well. The animal testing, it is the testing that is done in the laboratories for medicine. I mean, that is also very cruel.
Right, but what is your stance here in the context of the topic that we have chosen for today?
In the context of the topic that I've chosen, to what extent is the question? The answer is yes, but to what extent? But I would say I would choose it to a small extent, but not to the extent that we are doing right now.
Okay, so you want to prioritize human well-being over that of animals, but not to the extent of, let's say, like in the example that I asked, I think Sandeep, of like one human being versus 10,000 dogs. At what point, where is the line for you?
Drawing the line is difficult, but I'm telling you, animal testing shouldn't be done. And the factory farms, what happens, like you have seen, actually common sense says that the animal cannot be bigger than the cage. But in United States, when a pig is put into a cage at a when it is very small, and when it grows outside the cage. So it defies common sense to say that the animal is bigger than the cage itself. They cannot even turn in the cage. So to that extent, humans are exploiting animals, but to this extent. Like if you say one human versus 10,000 dogs, that is difficult. Actually, I would say 10,000 dogs. It depends, again, if there are pets or normal street dogs or stuff like that. It all depends. But I would say from a different perspective, animal testing should be done and stuff like that. And we have to give up on technology and science and technology that harms animals.
Okay, you made an interesting point here. You said that it depends on whether it's a street dog or something else. Let's actually talk about that. What do you think is the value of a street dog versus some other kind of dog? What did you mean by that?
My pet dog has more value than a street dog for me.
Okay, you're talking about emotional value in terms of the actual organism. Okay, so if you were talking about, like, let's say some exotic pets, exotic dogs versus like common street dogs, how would you rate them? You don't have any emotional association with either of them. Would you say that one has more value than the other?
No, actually, I think even if you look at the species, a Labrador has more emotions than a German Shepherd. So generally speaking, I value a Labrador or a Golden Retriever more than a German Shepherd. And I value chimpanzees more than goats. And I value goats more than a mice, and so on.
Okay. So you're talking about the value of like being equated to the like magnitude of sentience in the life form.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, a bacteria would be a lot less value than an actual like a monkey or something.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying your stance, Ashwin. Yeah. Okay, so I see a couple of new people who joined. I think Ronald is here. Also, Jijo, I'm not sure if this first time you're joining. If you want to participate in the session, you have to basically raise your hand by clicking on the reaction button down below. and then you can raise your hand. Now, there have been some interesting points raised. I think, initially, the question that I asked to Sandeep was basically whether you would favor a situation where a human life is saved versus 10,000 dogs being saved at the expense of the other's life, right? And the question is a little more nuanced than this, because I think people have talked about, for example, the point that Ashwin brought up was talking about the harm done to, or harm or inconvenience or suffering that we are causing to animals for the sake of advancement of, let's say, the cosmetic industry. We are not going to die if we don't use skincare products. But in the quest to arrive at those skincare products, we are testing a lot of animals. We are doing a lot of harm to these animals. There are so many animal testing, things that are being done. For example, they'll inject a certain chemical into an animal to see how it reacts, and depending on the results, they will adjust the formula, redo it again and again, to the point where I arrive at a safe formula to be tested on human beings. So in that situation, inherently, we are prioritizing the safety, comfort, convenience of a human being over enormous harm done to another animal. So, like I said, we are, with all the things that we're doing in our life, we are implicitly assuming that the value of life of a human being is more than that of other animals. And I see that Ronald, you've added a bunch of stuff in the comments. Would you like to elaborate your stance on voice? Okay, so you have an issue with your microphone. Okay, I see. Okay, okay, Ashwin, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing. The United States, when after they dropped a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were doing extensive nuclear tests. One of the tests that they did was on animals and also on humans itself. Like they put radioactive material on humans, on their own citizens, to test the effects, just to make a point.
Right. Right. I think the theme is a little more nuanced than this, like where the instances that you describe, right? Like with the testing of the human beings in America and the testing of the lab animals. This is a separate issue, I think. Like, where there, we are basically pitting the progress of human scientific achievements or discovery or all these things against the value of certain life forms. And historically, if you observe, we have sacrificed, like, for example, the building of pyramids cost enormous slave suffering to achieve those effects. So any kind of like human achievement, there is some kind of a suffering endured by somebody to achieve that. So I mean, this is again a separate topic, I would say. But in the examples that you gave, in case of the animal testing, as well as the testing of radioactive effects of radioactive exposure on human beings, for these things, they had to perform those tests. So inherently there is scientific progress that is achieved at the expense of suffering by somebody or other.
Raghav, but this was unknown to the victims.
Exactly. So that is what suffering amounts to, right? It's not like they volunteered. Nobody's going to volunteer for this. So they'll have to pick out somebody to do these things on. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of suffering.
Yeah, but those things are criticized. But animal testing is not criticized to that extent.
No, it is criticized. There are a lot of like lobbies against the whole animal testing thing.
But not to the extent of human testing.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it depends on how many people see it as important enough to take up arms against it. But yes, I see that Himanshu is also raised his hand. Himanshu, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I don't know what has happened in the debate in the past 20 minutes, but I would just like to start. So I think most of you might be mistaking being alive with being conscious. So first of all, being alive in very scientific terms, and which you are mistaking, by the way, is simply an organism's ability to perform chemical interactions within itself, to either reproduce or respond to the stimuluses of the environment. This does not really mean that the organism is conscious, and everyone is mistaking consciousness for being alive. So, for example, a plant, it's said to be alive, right? Plants and trees, they are said to be alive, but they are not conscious. They are alive because they have microorganisms in them, and they have cells which respond to the stimuluses of the world around them. So they are not alive. They are alive. They are not conscious. And same is for animals. I think this is more about the question on who values life more, humans or other animals. See, humans, looking from an ecological perspective, humans are aware that they are alive, and humans infinitely value life more than any animals. And if you would look at the animals, you would realize that most of the animals are not even conscious or do not even have a consciousness. And the animals who have been domesticated by humans are generally more conscious or have a basic consciousness, which means dogs. And the other animals which have the most consciousness or a basic consciousness are animals that are human ancestors, or human or are the byproducts of human ancestors. For example, chimpanzees and baboons. These animals have shown a basic level of consciousness, but a sheep or a sheep does not cry because it's hurt. It cries because it senses pain, and then it cries because it's the response that would alert the other sheeps. It does not. When you kill a sheep, it simply cries because what I said. It does not cry because it's going to die. It does not realize that it's alive. So who do you think is worth more? Someone who realized that he is alive, or someone who does not even know that he is alive?
Is
Yeah,
that all?
yeah.
Okay, so I want to clarify a couple of things here. We did talk about sentience, I think a few minutes ago before you joined. I want to lay out a few different metrics of that are used in typically assessing the value of life. There are three factors. One is consciousness, like Himanshu was talking about. Consciousness is this ability to be aware, have a subjective experience. And there is also sentience, which is the ability to have like emotional awareness. You have the ability to feel pain and feel happiness and all these things. And then there is another concept called sapience. Sapience is this ability to think, ability to have like cognitive functionalities. So consciousness, sentience, sapience, and you can also have another factor called awareness. Awareness can be clubbed into what is referred to as consciousness. So these are three separate constructs which are used to assess properties of life. It's not just the property of being alive that constitutes the value of an organism. So you have aliveness, you have consciousness, you have sentience, and then you have sapience. Okay, so all these four metrics can be used to measure things. Now, there is an inherent problem in philosophy with regards to these factors. Every one of these factors, these are like inferred metrics. These are not something that you can directly measure in any meaningful, unambiguous, and unanimous with a unanimous consensus on like what is the validity of that measurement. For example, if you take even awareness, I can theoretically I can create a like a robot that mimics a human being to the point of like it can almost seem like to replicate these like a real human being. And if I were to introduce that robot to another actual human being, would you say that robot is alive, or would you be able to tell? And how reliable is the ability to um, mimic a life form in your perception of it being alive or conscious, right? So Himanshu, when you say something like plants are not conscious, or a sheep does not have sentience, these kind of things, these are you're making you have to essentially make a hell of a lot of assumptions to arrive at these conclusions. The fundamental nature of subjectivity is that you cannot measure it from outside. subjectivity is something that, you can only feel your own subjectivity. You cannot like talk about that of another human being, let alone another organism. So there are fundamental issues with this, which I wanted to point out, and I will put down those terms in the chat. But yeah, Himanshu, you've raised your hand again. Go ahead.
Yeah, so these metrics of sentience and sapiens and everything that you mentioned, the thing about these is that if you want to measure it, you're also assuming that the life form has consciousness. And as I said, people mistake consciousness for being alive and being alive for being conscious. But for example, you said look at AI. You cannot say that AI is real. What's AI is that it's just algorithms. It uses the algorithms to make some responses that are supposed to be human-like. And this is exactly what some animals are. They just follow a script. So one quality that separates humans and several other animals, which have a basic consciousness, is that our ability to not follow our inclinations. For a sheep, what it does is you will never see a sheep do anything other than eating grass and procreate at appropriate times and follow the herd, because they just cannot think. They are not aware and they cannot think. They do not realize that they are alive. They are just a microbial life that has chemical reactions and synapses in its brain and is essentially an algorithm.
Okay. I mean, you're making a lot of like very contentious like claims here, and see when you're talking about, first of all, microbial life. What does it mean? How is a sheep a microbial life? It's not a microorganism. It is an organism.
Yeah, by
It is
microbial life, I mean the cells in it.
Yeah, we also have the same mechanisms. We are also mammals. We have like inherently the same thing. So why could you not use the same argument against a human being?
Because we can override our script. We don't
So-
really need to follow it.
So basically, you're talking about sapiens being equivalent to consciousness. So there are like, that's what I'm telling. Like these terms, we have to use it in a very specific way. And also the whole point about like, a sheep not being aware that it's alive. How do you know that? You're not inside a sheep's subjective experience to confirm this. How are you arriving at the conclusion?
Well, Mr. Raghav, are you aware that you're alive?
Are you aware that you're alive?
Yeah.
Okay. And if I said yes or no, how would you validate my response?
Because you can say that a sheep cannot.
So you're essentially basically equating linguistic compatibility with subjective experience.
Linguistic compatibility, which is coming from awareness.
Right. So if a sheep bleated out yes, you don't understand the sheep's language. So you may not know whether it's saying yes or no.
But sheep have no language.
That's your verdict because you don't understand. Right? You see what I'm getting at? Like I'm not trying to like, say the opposite of what you're saying. I'm
If
just
a
saying
sheep,
that
if a sheep said yes, or if we taught the sheep to say yes, like bound down means yes, then maybe we need to do more things to find out if a sheep has a level of consciousness or not.
See,
But
that's what I'm
sheep
saying.
cannot.
You need to look deeper into these questions because like the answer to these questions are not as straightforward or something that you can, say with conviction. Whether they have consciousness or
I'm not
subjective
saying
experiences.
they don't have a consciousness. I'm saying that their level of consciousness is not same as humans.
Got it. Okay, that is more of a I would say more acceptable as a claim, rather than saying like yes or no, like a black and white kind of a thing. Okay, so that's fine. So you're saying that because animals do not have the same level of awareness, sentience, and sapience, somehow their value of life is much lower. This is the essence of your argument, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So I don't see any other hands up.
Yeah,
So
I would
should
like
we?
to
Okay, go ahead.
raise my hand.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ashwin.
Yeah, okay. Raghav, one question.
Mhm.
Among all the humans, do they have the same level of awareness, aliveness, consciousness, and the other two, sapiens and sentience?
I would
For
argue
you
that
and
no.
Himanshu, both of you, the question is.
I would argue no.
Himanshu?
There is a certain bar, and basically all of the humans are above that bar unless they have some mental conditions. It's a bar of realizing that you are alive, and that's the bar.
My question was,
Actually,
do they have the same level?
no,
Okay.
not all of them have the same level. There are some disparities, but if I have to simplify, then yes, they are all above a bar which says that they know that they are alive.
Then do you think that all humans are equal? If you say that animals have a lower level of all the things, and you say so human life has more value, then even within humans there is a difference, and so
I'm not making a claim that human life is more valuable. I'm just making a point that because animals have a lower sense of consciousness and they do not even realize that they are alive, killing them versus killing a human is an easy pick.
then the same argument goes for humans within humans also as well.
Yeah, but they all realize that they are alive, right?
Okay. So is there a point to your question, Ashwin?
The point is, from based on what I understood, animals have a very low level of the five indicators over there. So you're saying that our life is more valuable than theirs. So my point is, within the humans, if there is a disparity, then even within humans, some lives are more valuable than the others. That's
But
my point.
but see, the thing is that enforcement of this principle, right? It's going to be, logistically it's very challenging. As an organism, we can arrive at like general conclusions, but if you have to do it at an individual level, right, I have to have instruments in place to measure all these things, and then I have to make an economic calculation as to what is the value of each person's life. These are not like feasible, these are not like easy things to do, which is why
Okay.
we resort to approximations.
Okay, but my statement was based on your response.
This question is strictly confined to our perspective. From an ecological perspective, animals and humans are exactly the same thing and no one is special. This is
Okay.
strictly confined to our perspective. So there is no way we can arrive at any other conclusion than human life being worth more than animal life.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, Himanshu. I think that is also like a valid thing to have the context around, like whether you are looking at the question objectively or from a subjective viewpoint of like as a human being. But I see that Sandeep has raised his hand. Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah. So the arbitrary metrics that would measure, arguably measure the value of any life form are, again, as you said, they are not tangible, as it comes from the perspective of the individual that you're posing the question to. So because we are at a position that we can make that question and answer it, right? So we obviously choose or come to a conclusion that the value of a human being is again more valuable than any other organism. And because we have that connection as a fellow human being, there would there was this scene in Big Bang Theory. They were making joke about this guy, and they were like saying some dolphins might be more smarter than this guy, right? So it doesn't matter even if there is a dolphin which is smarter than human being, I would still choose a human being. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that the value of the human being is more than a dolphin. The point what I'm trying to make is it comes from the fact that we are the ones for answering that question, and we are the ones who are able to connect to something. So that could go the same question you asked Ashwin, right? About the stray dog and his own pet. He values some animals more than other organisms. So it again comes down to a point where what is your emotional preference, or like what is your more where your emotions are invested in, and how you connected yourself to the to other organisms. So, and the other thing Mr. Himanshu was saying about like animals doesn't know that they are alive. I probably should disagree with that. They do know that they are alive, because It's simple. It's a simple fact that, of course, when a carnivore or like a predator tries to kill them, of course they try to run away to save their lives. It's not like even let's say a deer which has never been in a hunt knows that it has to run. So it has been evolutionarily embedded into the DNA that they have life, right? They have life and they have the survival instinct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Himanshu, go ahead.
Yeah, so the test done to measure consciousness level or the level of self-awareness in animals is most popularly it's the mirror test. But there are several more tests done, but the most popular one is the mirror test. And the mirror test is basically you show an animal a mirror and basically see if that animal is able to recognize itself in the mirror. So the point is that if the animal is able to recognize that the person in the mirror they're looking at is basically just themselves, like this is me, then they have a basic sense of consciousness, and then they can move forward with the experimentations on uh, how conscious this animal is. Dolphins have passed this test, and elephants have also passed. Some breeds of dogs have passed. And our cousins, which are the bonobos and chimpanzees and apes, some of them have also passed, but most of them failed. So it's like they do not recognize themselves. And about the Mr. Sandeep's argument, right? That when a predator hunts an animal, the animal runs away. Why does it run away? Because it has it knows that it is alive. So no, that's not how it works. Humans were also less conscious in the evolutionary trait. Certain things happened that led to us being so conscious here. But why an animal runs away is simply because of evolutionary reasons. If they run away and if they scream, they have a better chance for survival. Evolution or natural selection does not care about you being conscious or not. It cares about you surviving. So when an animal runs away, right, it's not because it's alive. It's because the brain and the synapses in the brain are specifically programmed to do this. They run away because the brain tells them to. They are not even a them. They do not have a self perception and they do not have self awareness. They do not know that they are a deer or they are this life form.
What defines being alive?
Okay. Let's take turns. Sandeep, you'll wait for your turn, please. Himanshu, are you done?
No, so like the argument, right, that the animal runs away when the predator starts to hunt him. It's not because it fears for its life. It's because it's a natural inclination. It cries because of a natural inclination. It runs because of a natural inclination. It's because it's all pre-programmed in its brain. This is why you don't see deers inventing mobile phones because they are stuck in a script which they cannot override because they do not have enough self-awareness to override the script. Meanwhile, we have, and about the predators hunting. So I think you completely disregarded that predators also have mothers and fathers who have been hunting. They observe them hunting and then they learn hunting, and also there are some actions which you do not need to observe to perform. And most predators have that voluntary reaction of automatically hunting without even ever observing anyone hunt. And even they hunt because it's a synapse in their brain. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thanks a lot, Himanshu. So a couple of things to note about what you just mentioned, like the mirror test, for example. Like mirror test is not a measure of consciousness. Mirror test is an inferential test performed to measure the ability to for
It's a
self-recognition.
measurement of self-awareness.
Self-recognition and self-awareness in particular. Self-awareness and self-recognition do not equate to consciousness. That's a very small subset of what constitutes consciousness. Okay, and another couple of things regarding the points you making about with regards to certain behaviors being like synaptic reflexes, almost that cognitive reflexes. You can argue that about everything that we do. I mean, there's a whole another debate about like free will and all these things. You can also argue that cognition itself, the ability to invent itself, is a pre-programmed entity. And does that diminish our sense of aliveness if it is true? So these are some questions to think about. But I want to invite Jijo to speak. Jijo, you've raised your hand. And also, Sandeep, I think you have something to say. Please raise your hand so that like you can get into the queue, please.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jijo, please go ahead.
thanks, Raghav. So I have been thinking about this. See, the plants genetically it knows how to produce a food, and to do that, it consumes sun, energy, and water and stuff. Similarly, animals consume food from plant to get the energy, right? But the value of life, why are we thinking of as a consciousness? Because you were already talking that we can't measure it, which means we are just uh, you know giving some gas to some concept which is not even conceptualized or proven. Basically what I'm trying to say, you can say that I am learning something, but what's the proof of that? You can just mug it up and say that I learned this. Did you come up with that concept? No, someone told you and you just by hearted and saying it doesn't mean that you learned it. And coming to the point where I was thinking, right, mm, there are humans, okay, who has mental instability. Even if you show a mirror in front of them, they may not recognize themselves. Okay, if you were say Himanshu was saying that animals may not recognize. Humans eat animals, predators eat animals. Are you saying that if a human can't see his face, he can't recognize himself in a mirror, another human can eat him? Like we can open a butcher shop and start selling meat shop for a human? Is that what you're going there? Because consciousness we can't measure in any way. You can come up with all this gamma, theta waves and all, but they are just a concept. Someone is saying it, but have you experienced it? That's where I'm going at as of now. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about the subjectivity of these measurements, and you can't really have a universal scale for consciousness, and also that you cannot really base these on the value of life because like everything has a purpose.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Chicho. Yeah, Himanshu, go ahead. I think before Himanshu, I think Sandeep, you had a question, right, to Himanshu. Do you want to take your turn at that?
Yeah, my very question is the argument that I got only stuck at one point that the other animals do not understand that recognize themselves that they are alive. And how would you know? I mean, like, of course, the mirror test and all, fine. But what I'm trying to say is, let's say the first mirror have ever invented is like reflection of yourself in the water, right? So why not if let's say we have grown up with the fact that the mirrors have been around and we ourselves are trained by our society, parents, everything, and there are a lot of things that we do not know that what they are, but because they existed around us, we don't even question them. Like how many times have anybody have questioned why a mirror is reflecting me? Like maybe like if you're 5 years or 6 years old, maybe the first time you looked at yourself, maybe you wouldn't even recognize yourself. You thought that's another human being, right? So even a human being who is fully conscious, let's say the first time they looked at the reflection of water, they would have thought there is a human being on the other side of the on the bottom of the lake. It is just a realization. Okay, this is the concept that okay, the light. Maybe we haven't the very person might have not understand the basics of physics and how the light reflects and all, but they eventually understood. Okay, this is me. That is getting it's just like they have given a name to it. Like so they have given a name to it. Okay, it's a reflection, and it has evolved into a place that it has become a mirror in our modern lives. So putting a mirror test, which is like it has a lot of versions to it, which has become a very sophisticated one, and it has been a part of the society and our own learning from the childhood. It doesn't make it is not an equivalent test to a human or comparable to another how we say the animals. So
Yeah.
and when we talk about like what is being alive, there are some pure mechanical robots which look like they are alive, right? The perception, the very mechanism that they can react to the environment, to the wind, to the water, to the moisture in the environment. There are microstructures, the nanostructures that are being used in medical industry right now. They respond to certain certain spectrum of heat. It means that they are alive. So it's all about how we look at the perception, what is alive, and when it. So that's what I'm trying to say, that if the pure boundary between life, if I have to define what is life and what is not, I would put it in a way that if it has a sense that it has to save itself, right? If it doesn't have a sense, even if tomorrow, like 10 years after, if a humanoid robot comes out and if it has a sense of saving itself, I would consider it as alive, right? If there is something that doesn't have an inherent uh, uh, desire to save itself, it's not alive. That's how I would separate what is life and what is not alive.
So see, I think Sandeep, like this is already in place. Like there are like intelligent chat algorithms that can mimic a certain sense of self-preservation. What you're talking about is
Yes.
self-preservation, right? You're
Yeah.
equating self-preservation to being alive. Why
Yes.
would you call a chat algorithm being alive?
Yes, if it
You
is
would.
going to self-preserve, because how do we not know that we are in a simulation and we are products of something that has evolved into a. See, we cannot draw a line between something, okay, carbon based, it is not carbon based. It's all about how we define things, right? If it is carbon based, okay, it is alive. If it is not carbon based, it is not alive. So it's all about our own definitions of what is alive.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Sandeep. But before Himanshu, I'll let you speak. I want to also like bring a distinction to what you were saying earlier about that these are all synaptic things. There is a certain mechanistic understanding. Like you were talking about how certain things are algorithms, right? Like certain, like for example, a robot is like driven by its algorithms and all these things. And one thing I want to bring your attention to is like that human beings also have like processes that determine our behavior. So you cannot like infer that just because you're aware that this is a mechanistic process behind it, and you have a certain understanding of it, that it is not happening through volition. Like because like we attribute volition. Again, volition is another metric that is used to sort of like decide the I guess like how you would measure consciousness. So just because like there is a underlying process that is like clear does not mean that there is a absence of volition, right? I wanted to also mention that, but yeah, I think you can go ahead now.
Well, Mr. Jijo said that plant knows to make food when it's sun, and I would just like to correct that, or maybe it's not even a correction at all. But the plant does not know how to make food. The plant is made in a certain way that everything in it just works in a very systematic order. So when the plant is making food, it's not making a conscious decision to make food. It's just making food. And the other thing, right? The mirror test. The objective is not to just put animals in front of a mirror and then watch them. It's also to calculate or also to observe that if this animal realizes that this mirror image of itself that it's seeing is him or her. Like, for example, if you put a dog, it would not recognize himself because he's never explicitly focused on a mirror ever before. But as time passes, your objective is to see and observe if this dog ever realizes that the mirror it's looking at, it's actually reflecting himself. That is the point. That is the point. That is also the point that you observe if animals realize over time that this is a mirror and they are seeing themselves. And the other thing is that I don't really care about who's eating meat or who's eating not, or who's killing what animal to eat what meat. Uh,
Is that all, Himanshu?
no, I'm just trying to think. Could you give me a recap of what everyone said? There were a lot of things.
No, I think you should take down notes. I'm not going to recap anything, but see, the other thing is that again, I want to bring out the point that self-recognition is the metric that a mirror test does. Okay, it's not consciousness. So these are approximations. Again, there is a
So could
fundamental
you say
difficulty.
that consciousness without awareness is possible?
I'm saying that self-awareness and self-recognition, these are very tiny subsets of what is referred to as consciousness.
But
And just
without
yeah,
them,
because
is it
see,
possible?
if you're unable to if you're unable to like measure the presence of self-recognition, does not mean the absence of consciousness. Okay, it is just means a certain component of consciousness is missing, and we can make a I guess like a arguable assumption that self-recognition and self-awareness are the, I guess like you can say, the higher echelons of what consciousness entails. So it does not mean that the remaining 90% of what constitutes consciousness is absent also. We have to understand that there is a fundamental difficulty in the measurement of these subjective aspects, and these are inferential tests that we are doing to arrive at approximate conclusions that are better than not knowing anything, right? So you cannot like take these tests as like meaning that they're objectively proving something. These are very very like coarse approximations. That is something that I wanted to mention as well. And the other thing is um, regarding the whole, even the mirror test, right? Let's say that if you take a baby, right, a baby is not as sentient as, or you can sentient is something that you can argue, but like is not as sapient or as self-aware as an adult human being. Now, again, would you have to like see the worth of these metrics to see, like, if you put a mirror in front of a baby, it is not going to respond as intelligently as an adult human being. So would you say that the worth of a life of a baby is lesser than that of an adult? So these are also open questions. And I think a couple of people are,
Even babies, some of them do realize that what they are looking at is themselves. And the other thing is like, if a baby is not aware, does not mean that it's a completely invalid human. The
right.
baby
But
also has a potential of acquiring higher consciousness. That's
again,
also
I'm just trying to draw the efficacy of these measurements, because like you can argue the same that in a plant, maybe when you're measuring a certain species of plant, it's not as not like self-aware, but maybe a different plant does. And these are just like various stages of the evolution of a plant as an individual organism, right? There are various nuances to this thing. That is why I'm saying that I'm trying to like put down any kind of um conviction that you have in these things, because these things are fundamentally very challenging to measure and have a like unambiguous conclusion upon. I
Raghav,
think
if you want, we can continue tomorrow because you're a knowledgeable person and nobody can replace you in the group, I believe, right now.
I don't know about actually, I tomorrow also I have a bunch of things going on. My schedule's kind of tight, but see,
We can
I
schedule
just
another
need
call sometime when you're free.
okay, let's we can move it to 7 p.m. tomorrow. I have a 7 p.m. slot tomorrow. But I mean, it's not like I'm unreplaceable. I'm just adding my, I've studied these things extensively, so I've kind of like putting in my points. But I do want to like hear the dialogue as well. I think some people had their hands up. Jijo and Sandeep, you had your hands up. You want to go next? Or Himanshu, do you want to continue with your whatever you were saying? I think you had something else, right?
I would like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of the people in this group will say that humans have more value than animals. The question is again, to what extent? And even if they have more value, what comes next? Can they do whatever they want to animals? That is the main question, I believe.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that humans are more value than animals. I'm saying a better question is that knowing these facts that humans have a higher level of consciousness than animals, whom do you think is worth more? That is like my question.
This question actually came up from the previous debate topic, that is what we do to animals. That is, we have invaded a lot of their land, and the animal reserves, if you see, they occupy a small portion of the land right now. this topic came up because of that reason. So the ultimate question is, can we do whatever we want to animals is the question, if our lives matter more compared to their lives.
So in previous debates, you talked about how various atrocities are being committed on animals, and I would like to ask whether if that is one of the reason why this group would be more inclined to believe feelings or facts. I would just like a clarification if you could provide any, Mr. Raghav.
See, feelings over facts is not that's not how you would frame this. Feelings are an essential factor in a lot of the things that we do. That does not make it it's a feeling versus fact. Feeling itself is a fact. Like the fact that you feel something constitutes a certain fact that is of different levels of significance for different people. I'm not saying that this is like a emotionally driven conclusion that we are trying to save animals because we just have a feeling that they're important or something. There is a certain lot more than just a feeling regarding these things. I don't know, that is the framing of what you're asking me, because it is not a feeling versus thinking kind of a situation here. Anyway, so I think Sandeep and Jijo, you have your hands raised, so go ahead, guys.
Yeah. So extending to the debate that we had last time, it is not inherently mean that human life is better than animals, and I'm not saying that only humans exist and everything else, even if tomorrow everything else will wipe out of the disappear from the universe, it doesn't matter. The point being, if you have a choice, see the stress on it is, if you have a choice, would you choose yourself over everyone else, or would you choose humankind over everything else? Yes, you would. But if it comes down to a point that you have to choose, that's what I'm trying to say. But if it doesn't come down to a point that you don't have to choose, yes, humans of course are like a preference that you have to cherish yourself and your own species. And then of course it is like the value, like let's say if humans are 100, okay, whatever the value you give to rest of the world. If you ask me what is the value of rest of everything else in the universe, I would say 99. Everything, even a nut bolt, I would give it 99. The score is 99. Okay, if all the humankinds are safe, then I'll go out and save the rest of the universe. But the point being is not like, okay, let go of everything, our actions doesn't matter, we will progress whatever we can do, and it's not like we will let the wildlife sanctuaries or the rest of the animals suffer. No, of course, as Raghav has actually mentioned, is it worth spending, even is it worth testing the cosmetics on animals? No, it is not. Is it worth testing medicine on animals? Up to a certain extent, like if it is not like without testing on animals, if we cannot make a drug, yes. But we have come to a point where we don't have to do that. Okay, there are like very old methodologies that we still use because they have been using it for a very long time. But the technology has progressed to a certain extent. The intensity of, see, if it's a simple question as it is, if I have to let 100 monkeys die so that my mom can get a medicine, do you really think that anybody in the world would choose no? Even if they choose no, do you think that deep down that you're not, at least 1% of you is not like, okay, let 100 monkeys die, but I'll get a medicine for my mom? It is embedded into ourselves, right? I'm just trying to put it in a black and white way so that the spectrum is like not so blurry, that okay, we have to choose everything else above us, which is a lie that we are telling ourselves. No, we cannot do that inherently. We may say that we can do it, but the point is we have the capability to choose it. So we can choose it, but we have to save ourselves first. Then we look outside. Yeah, of course, we don't have to go out of our way to hurt other animals. Yes, veganism, I'll give a 10 out of 10. Yes, you actually don't have to kill any animal in the world to sustain yourself. Your biology itself is not, you're not a carnivorous. I'll be very happy to, if Raghav would put up a debate about veganism, I'll be happy to debate that to a very great extent. So a single animal in the world doesn't have to suffer. But if if our progress, like let's say I have to build a rocket and I have to clear 10 acres of land. Before human beings, there is forest everywhere, and there are certain scientific and physical limitations that, okay, I have to put a launching station in Sriharikota, or I have to put a launching station in the Miami, and there is like a dense forest. Yes, I will clear 10 acres, 20 acres, or 30 acres of the forest. I will let the animals die. So it doesn't mean, do they have to suffer? Yes, they have to suffer, because we have to make a choice that it is inevitable that we have to progress. But if we can progress without doing that, yes, we can do that. If we cannot progress without doing that, then we shouldn't do it. So that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, Sandeep, but I would like to mention that animal testing is is included in veganism. If you do animal testing, you cannot be a vegan, by the way.
I
See,
think
vegan.
Mr. Sandeep's argument kind of encapsulated what I was trying to say. So, like, well done there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you see, I'll ask you a personal question, Ashwin. If you do, will you let 100? Let's say I'll reduce. I'll pull the bar a little bit down. Will you let 100 rats die so that you can get a medicine for your, I don't know, some liver cancer? Would you be okay with that?
That is a subjective question, as I told you. Maybe
No, it's not.
But the thing is, it doesn't fall under veganism, is my point. You cannot
No,
give 10 out of 10 to
forget
veganism
about
and do this.
forget about everything. Don't bring anything else. It's a personal deep question. You have a choice. Tomorrow you're going to die, and you let 100 rats die. You'll get a medicine tomorrow morning. Will you say yes, or will you let the 100 rats live? You die tomorrow morning.
It's not only about killing. It's also about torturing the rats, right? It's not just killing it under one spot.
Yes, of course we are torturing them so that you can get a medicine.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't do the torture part, but I would kill rats to make myself comfortable so that it doesn't come inside and
The
eat
very
my
act of
food
killing
grains.
itself is a part of torture.
Yeah, I'm drawing the line somewhere.
There is no
your line
line,
is
right?
different. Okay.
No, it's not a line. What I'm trying to say is we don't have to go out of our way to hurt animals. But if it is necessary for our own survival, absolutely yes.
Okay, Jijun is next on the line. His hand is up.
Okay.
Jiju, you can talk.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, there was a question, right? Whether if to self-survive, whether I will be able to kill a rat. It's a survival nature, right? Anyone will be want to live, so they will do anything for that. Maybe we should focus on a question. Let's say I have a neighbor which I don't know, but he is a human, but he has a illness and he will die unless I kill 5 goats. Will I do it or not? Because if my neighbor dies, I don't have any problem. 5 goats die, I don't have any problem. What is the criteria I want to do now?
Well, you will kill the 5 goats because even you and every single human out there internally values human life more than animal life. And it's more about the question of this is just from our perspective. These lives are worth less from our perspective.
Maybe I'll rephrase the same question with a bit of twist. The 5 goats was you have bought it from a store. It's kind of a pet of yours. You from a baby thing you have been feeding for past 2 3 years. You are it's like a family to you now. You know, even if it gets hurt, you feel the pain. Now, will you sacrifice those 5 goats for a neighbor?
Anyone would really. If you don't do it, then others will do it.
No, no, there is no others. It's only you and your neighbor in a remote island, you can say.
Well,
It's not,
let me
there is
ask
no
you
others.
this then. If you did not kill the goats and the neighbor died,
This is a spiral. Okay, it's a question on question, question on question. It's about personal choice.
no, but let me ask my question. If suppose the neighbor died because you did not kill your goats, how would you feel then? Would you think that that was justified, you not killing the goats because you know these goats, and then your neighbor died?
In the second scenario, since I have an attachment with a goat, I think a neighbor should die. Okay.
Oh, then I think, okay, let's just consider potential life expectancy. Depends like how many years your neighbor will live and how many years your goat will live. So goat like average lifespan, I don't really know, but I'm assuming it to be 12 to 15 years, I think. And your neighbor, I don't know, you did not specify how old.
What will make, okay, see, if you think in that way, right? What will happen next? If a neighbor wants something, okay, you killed 5 goats, neighbors survived now, but there is nothing to eat. Now the neighbor wants to kill you so that he can survive. If we start right, it will go like that. It's a what I was trying to say is it's a I think someone mentioned it. It's about individual choice, but what I was going for is the concept of empathy, like, and what I actually care for. It's not about the human, it's not about a plant, it's not about an animal. It's about what actually I care for. Even if it's a simulation world, why am I in a simulation? To do some activity, right?
And
And
that is
based on
exactly
that,
what
I
makes
find
you
out the
more
direction.
conscious than animals. That is exactly what makes us more conscious than animals.
I'm just don't want to answer consciousness on this subject because consciousness, let's say, okay, there's an alien race on a fourth or fifth dimension, and they have an awareness such that all this calculus, all the AI related stuff, they just understand it just like that. They don't have to work, work so hard to understand everything. And for them, we are like ants, right? If you think in that way, we they will just simply kill us, right? Why do they need us?
Well, if they are more conscious, then they will be more justified in killing us. They might think that we are less conscious and their value of life is more than our value of life. They will kill us.
That's where I'm going at. If there is a life, then it has to be because someone wants us to be here, right? Maybe you call it universe, you call it God, you call it alien, whatever it is. Because someone wants you here, because of that you are here. That's where. So it's a choice done by someone for you. And why did they do it? Because maybe they think as an act of kindness, as an act of love. I don't know. It can be anything. But
I
if we
think now we are stepping into the lines of if God is real or not.
see, I am not going for a God level. Okay, it's just an abstract concept because you are going for the consciousness. If you're going for consciousness, that's where it's going to be nirvana, right?
Okay, I have
The
one question for
ultimate
you
end of
guys, all of you. We are talking about humans dominating over animals, right? Just because we have higher consciousness and so on. But if you take throughout history and even now, humans are dominating over other humans as well, weaker humans. Is that justified? Yes or
Well,
no?
first of all, we are not dominating over animals just because we are more conscious than them. There are a lot more reasons, and in fact, I don't think consciousness is even a reason in dominating over animals. And second, the humans dominating over other humans is simply just a hierarchical structure. It has nothing to do with consciousness.
Yeah, I
You
think
take a
this is
colonization of India by Britain. They were stronger than us. The stronger exploited the weaker ones. Basically, humans are doing
Actually,
the
they
same.
are not
Humans,
stronger than us. They
humans,
have exploited the weak links, and they
whatever.
had a
Even
better
through
technology. Okay.
exactly better
Oh,
technology is strength only, right? It was strength only.
Well,
They
how
advanced
does strength equate to higher consciousness? Because the Britisher and the Indian at that time has the same level of consciousness.
See,
So
it's
it's
not
not
only.
about Britishers capturing us because we are less conscious or less human. It's because they simply had better technology and they could beat us easily.
I'm not talking only about consciousness. I'm telling humans are dominating over animals because of strength. Strength, I mean, not just physical strength. mental strength as well, the ability to innovate and see, you can control a elephant as well. I mean, because we have the right tools. I mean, to make the elephant unconscious and stuff like that. Basically, if you take anything for that matter, I mean, one animal dominating over another animal, or human dominating over human, or human over animal, it's the strength, both physical and mental combined strength. It's not only not limited to consciousness and the 5 factors that Raghav mentioned. So again, coming to the fact, humans have dominated over other humans as well, within India, outside India, all over the world. It happens, right?
That is simply a hierarchical structure. It has nothing to do with consciousness.
I'm not saying it has to do with consciousness. I'm telling it has to do with strength as well. I mean, can the strong exploit the weak is my question. Is it morally correct?
It's his choice, really. He can exploit if he wants to.
Yeah, but we generally criticize the strong that exploits the poor, right? We generally
We exploit the strong that gets caught. We do not exploit. Sorry, we criticize the strong that gets caught doing bad things. The one who never gets caught never gets criticized.
Hmm. Okay, Jiju, you have your raised hand. You want to
Oh,
talk?
means I had raised it for previous, but going through this, right? I think the powerful doesn't has to actually exploit a weaker one, right? Because they have the strength and everything, you know? Why do they have to do? Even the Britishers, they did it because of their greed and their lustfulness, and they
No,
just wanted,
yeah, go on, please.
right? But I'm thinking it's more like, what if two humans are there and both are on equal level, but one is focusing on exploiting the other one? Then it is something about a jealousy. It is something about envy. So isn't it something related to emotions?
Yeah, it is greed, it is jealousy, it is everything. But just how humans exploit humans, humans also exploit animals. There are common factors involved. But one thing is, animals cannot speak up. That is
Which
one
means
one drawback where many more animals get exploited, right?
Yeah, there are smart animals as well, like as I mentioned, our cousins, the bonobos, the chimpanzees, and the apes, and the silverback apes. These animals are known to have communities, and monkeys are even known to cry for anyone who died in their community. So, like, what I'm saying is humans have a higher level of consciousness because we simply are aware of our consciousness. But like animals, these animals have evolved or have a normal level of consciousness, but they are not really sustained when something arrives. For example, if a tiger attacks the same community which was crying for a baby being lost, they would immediately rush away. They might try to reconnect, but in the end, it's everyone for themselves. That really does not, that might happen in humans as well, but it's not for the same reasons as it is for animals.
okay, so I just want to add one thing, right? Uh, it's not about uh, like who has this thing. It's about treating everyone equally, I think, even an animal and plant. It's not about just because if you say I'm conscious or I'm aware, because of that I should be living. What's the point if you are aware of your living and you are willing to kill other stuff, other animals? Then what's the point of your consciousness? You should, if you are aware, you should know what is the concept of sacrifice. What is the right? So I think in that scenario, if you are truly conscious, you will not think of animal as another entity because it just does not have attained any consciousness level. You will self-sacrifice in that scenario.
But let's talk about dogs. Dogs are not tamed. Dogs are simply bought in the market. Some would
You
even
can
argue
actually
that
get it.
some. Do you want to say something?
No, dogs you can get it in street as well.
You can, but like more preferable dogs are the one which have exotic breeds. They are bred without their consent and then they are sold without their consent. Some would even relate them to the slave markets. And then you buy them and then you love them. Like you bought something so you can love it. But like the what I would like to highlight over here is what if the dog does not realize that this owner loves me? Maybe he just acts all lovey-dovey just because if he does, he gets food. Because the more common assumption is that animals who are not as conscious as us are simply derived or simply have a driving force of food. They do everything for food and survival and reproduction, and that's what their script is based around. So in this scenario, do you think the dog actually loves you, or does he acts lovey-dovey because it gets him food?
Himanshu, I would like to say that I believe I'm not. I think I have read somewhere, but our love is also centered around evolution. You love people because if you do things in a group, I mean, you are more likely to get a better reward. I have read this I've seen this in a video. That is why if you're alone, you get bored, and that is because nature wants to keep you in a group, and because if you're in a group, you get a better reward. Is what I think.
This
It's
is
just my
where
opinion.
the aspect of self-consciousness is really nuanced. Because if you remove the same consciousness from humans right now, we would act same as monkeys or chimpanzees. We also have natural inclinations to do things like, and we even act the same way or on a hormonal level or a chemical level. We are literally similar to monkeys and chimpanzees, but we can choose otherwise. You can see a woman in a street, and you can be attracted to her, but you can just choose not to be, and you can walk away. You can try to ignore her at least, and you can regulate your behavior. But these orangutans do not have the capability of regulating themselves.
Okay, so finally, what is the conclusion? I mean, I would say that human lives matter more, but doesn't mean we can do whatever we want to animals. I would say somebody asked me the question, would I kill rats for the sake of having a medicine for my cancer? I mean, having a medicine for my cancer is a bonus, I would say. I mean, humans, when they were created or when they evolved, they didn't have that ability. It's a complete bonus. I wouldn't like to cause pain to something to get a bonus for myself, is my answer. So
Well,
my
you just answered your own question by calling rats something rather than rats. You just said that you would not cause pain to something.
yeah, I mean something in the sense for a bonus I wouldn't cause. If the rat is invading my house and it is spreading disease, then I would control the rat population.
Okay,
For scientific
so
reason, I
let
would
me
do it.
ask you
Well, if
something.
what if you constructed your house where the rats have lived before? Aren't you the one who is encroaching on their property?
To some extent, yes.
Then it
And not to
doesn't.
complete extent,
Does
yes.
it mean that our very existence is harming animals or other life form?
Yeah, but you cannot completely not harm animals. See, even if you walk on the street,
It
you
is
will
a
stamp
survival
animals.
instinct. You can live in a 6 by 6 box, but we choose to have 2,000 square feet.
Yeah,
Someone
but
choose to
even
have
if you
10,000
walk on the
square feet.
street, you will stamp on an earthworm or you will stamp on an ant. Doesn't mean that can you walk without even
No, that is an
stamping on
accident. Building a home is not an accident. That we choose to wipe out the biodiversity in that particular area, so that even today, if you have a ant invasion at your in your home, you would bring in some Lakshman Rekha or something to avoid spoiling your food.
Yeah, that is why we have bioreserves, right? We have wildlife reserves. And
No,
in the last
why
debate,
an ant in a biodiversity reserve has more value than an ant in your home? They are both life form.
I know that is why we have made the separation. Like we cannot live with wild animals. See, if you go out on a street, you cannot face a lion or a tiger. So what we have done is we have made communities for humans, and there are wildlife reserves as well. In the previous debate, I argued that maybe 80% or 90% should be wildlife reserve in a country, and the rest can be occupied by humans, is what I said.
Yeah, see a lion. You see a lion in the forest. You would perform a whole mental gymnastics on whether you want to kill the lion, or do you want to lure him away, or do you want to do something which leads to lion not being able to harm you. Do you think the lion is going through the same mental process when he looks at you?
The lion is thinking of me as a food, as
Exactly. The lion is not capable of thinking to an extent at which a human can. Now, let me ask you this.
that everybody agrees, Himashu. But the thing is, to what extent should we not exploit animals?
Yeah, well, wait, let me just ask you this. Okay, so first of all, what do you like about our nature? What do you think is beautiful in our nature?
Based on my chemical reaction in my brain, I think
No,
the
personally,
trees, the trees,
what do you like? What do you like seeing? What do you like seeing upon which you see, if you see something and you just start to appreciate it?
peace,
Peace,
yeah,
trees.
PEACE. I
No,
think I
but
got
like
it right.
something in nature, something in nature. Perhaps a
Trees,
scenery.
rivers, mountains.
Yeah, okay. So now let me ask you this. Now, you see, you can appreciate all of these qualities that nature has to offer. Do you think that the lion can appreciate this?
Maybe yes.
No, lion cannot.
Why? How do you know?
Because, well, it's pretty simple because they do not have the capability of understanding these things.
What if lion is in a cage or lion is in an urban environment? Do you think it will be happy?
It will not be happy, and it will be sad because it's being restricted of its movement. It's not because it thinks that it's missing out on all the world and it's like captured and he cannot move anywhere. He will be sad because he cannot move.
Okay. What if a lion is in an urban environment, concrete jungle? Don't you think it will have similarities with a human? Like it wants the nature, fire,
No,
and stuff like that?
no.
How do you know?
Well, he does not have the neurological capabilities of doing that. See, even humans, right? We did not have like this consciousness from the starting. Even we were exactly like them. And in fact, even now, we are exactly like all the other animals out there. There is nothing really special about us. It's it's precisely the ability of our consciousness and the our self-awareness that we have that separates us from them.
Yeah, but that doesn't, you cannot imply that a lion will be happy in an urban environment based on whatever you said. We don't
Yeah,
know.
the lion would not because the lion wants to run free in the jungle. He does not want to be blocked by concrete structures.
Yeah.
And
Let's
it's
say
not
a
because
human.
he's just happy with the forest. It's because he knows that he moves better in the forest, or he even eventually realize that he moves better in the forest. He has better movement in the forest than in a concrete jungle. Mr. Gio, I think this is the unmoderated section of
Yeah,
our
yeah.
debate.
You no need to raise your hand. You can just talk whenever you want.
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking, like, if when you say lion in a cage or in a city, right? Similarly, if a human is there and he has no other connection or interaction with any other humans in a room, he has been raised in a room itself. He's not gonna be. He doesn't have the knowledge itself of the outside world. So I don't think that's a scenario we should be comparing it for this. Whether which life form is important. What I was thinking is in nature, one uh, animal eats another one. Like plants are eaten by a rabbit, rabbit is eaten by a wolf, and so forth. And in that chain, we are somewhere uh, trying to utilize whatever is there and just surviving it. But we don't know Just because I know there is a sunset happening, there's a sunrise is happening, I am a better living organism, right?
See, you can think about the sunrise and you can think about the sunset, and you can even estimate when the sunrise is going to come and when sunrise is going to set. But the animals, they do not have the conscious capability of analyzing it,
No,
like
no.
the sunrise
And
or the
we
sunset.
we can't say that, right? How
No,
an-
we can because we have measured it, and I
Himanshu,
admit that it's not really very exactly that we know, but from the assumptions and the approximations we have made, I think it's clear.
Himanshu, my
can
dog
only
actually.
calculate when there is a sunrise or sunset, but how the beauty or what is that signifies, animals also experience it. They also feels it, right? If there's a rain is happening, they also go into some shelter. If it is stopped, they go
Those are
around.
the smart animals which have a basic conscience.
Yeah, Himanshu, actually, my dog was able to recognize approximately 7:30 p.m. when I used to take it out to walk. When I wouldn't take it out to walk, even a few minutes, it would recognize and it would react, and it would ask me to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be an example of your dog actually wanting to go out for a walk, and it shows a better capability of your dog
It can
wanting or
recognize the
desiring
time as well.
something.
It can recognize the time when it does that each
Well,
and
I
every
would
day.
argue that it does not recognize the time itself, but it
That is the
recognizes.
first thing you're trying to debate: does animals have consciousness or not? And the second point is, do we actually chronologize the value of the animals with human beings depending on the consciousness, right?
I think this debate can never be unbiased because we are thinking about animals having consciousness solely from our
Of course,
perspective.
this is not a tangible debate as such, because there is no scientific proof that you can put, okay, this is how it works. And the fact that
No,
we
there
cannot
is, there is.
actually,
And what I'm saying is that I'm challenging the notion our that our statement or our predicament that animals are less conscious than us is that true or false?
they are less conscious. One second, they are less conscious than us for putting ourselves into a box or defining what is consciousness. So we have
Okay,
set
so
of rules that we define ourselves, that okay, this kind of criteria puts us into consciousness. Yes, it is like comparing apples to oranges. Okay, we are consciousness in our own way, they are consciousness in their own way. It doesn't mean that they are not conscious. So what we define consciousness for ourselves, yes, of course, we are the only one who are conscious.
yeah, I think you could say that. See, this is what I'm
Yep.
saying, that we are defining consciousness from our description, and just we are assuming that our description is the correct one.
Yes. So there are, of course, there are multiple animals out there who are much capable of human beings, more physically, mentally, sensor based. There are a lot of animals that in and around yourself, they have more capabilities than you in certain areas. So it doesn't mean, it's all about like which species has the most powerful tool to survive and evolve beyond the chain of struggles for survival. Our human brain comes out on the top. So we separated ourselves from the web of the food web that we call. We don't call it food chain anymore. It's a food web. We separated ourselves from the food web because humans don't get eaten by animals, at least in a broader sense. But we are the part of the web, but it is only a one-way street, right? We eat animals, or we get everything from the natural world, but we do not give anything back. So we are not a part of the web. We are like let's say we have colonized the rest of the animal kingdom.
So, like, I would like to ask all of you a basic question of let's take 100 humans and 100 animals. And with 100 humans, these humans can appreciate the beauty of nature and appreciate everything that is around them. And they can feel everything, and they have self-awareness versus animals. Let's say they are lions. who do not necessarily realize the beauty around them, and their sole purpose is to hunt and eat. So among this, you only get to save one group. Who would you save?
You don't, if you have to choose, obviously everyone chooses themselves. Even whoever might choose that, okay, even if I die tomorrow, I wouldn't let another animal die. Is a hypothetical answer that you might give
Yeah,
for
see,
a
this is what
discussion.
I'm saying, because this debate cannot be unbiased. Uh, because we are assuming that animals are less conscious just because they cannot make decisions, or they cannot just come to this debate and argue that no, 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 we are conscious and this and that, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's how actually I started my thing. I think you weren't there, so that is how I started actually. So we are the ones who are debating it. We are the ones who are getting questioned, and our answer will always be we choose ourselves. If you ask the fox, would you choose yourself over a human being? Of course, it would choose itself over anything else. Every life form is biased for its inwards, right? They will never be biased outside, because that is how the life form itself works. They are biased towards themselves. They are biased towards survival of themselves.
So the basic question is, to what extent can we exploit animals? Was my question. To what extent?
So to what extent it means, if it is not going to hamper the aspirations of human beings, you can exploit animals. But when it comes down to a place where, see, when it comes to breeding animals for food, no. Breeding animals for milk, no. Absolutely ridiculous. You're not a cow. You're not a baby cow. Don't drink milk. Okay, you're not a baby cow. As simple as it is. Even if you want to put out logic out there, you're a grown man. You're a grown human being. Milk doesn't do anything to you. Okay, don't industrially manage cows to harm them. No, you shouldn't do it. When it comes to veganism debate is absolutely it is usually moral angle that comes into it, but it always fails when a person like me chooses, like, let's say, yeah, I'm okay with killing animals and eat it. Veganism will never have a debate to counter it, because human beings have a choice to choose whatever they want. That comes down to the fundamentals, that even if you tomorrow, people say that what about animal rights? I would say they don't have any rights. We are giving them rights. They're not fighting for it. Maybe they are fighting for it. We really don't care, because we have the empathy to give them rights, to give a status, and 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 it is pathetic enough. We are giving tigers rights, but not chicken. How stupid is that, right? So it's all about what we choose to give rights or not, because we are the ones who write on the laws. We are the one who gives them the rights.
It's simply because tigers are not useful to us. We are not giving them rights, we are just letting them free. And then we are just covering it as giving them rights, but we are not giving them any rights, we are just letting them go free because they're simply not useful to us. Now, what I think is
Tiger
that,
skin is like more pricey in the market. Okay, just FYI.
yeah, so they get poached for it, they get killed for it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, as I
But
said,
yeah, see, well, let me just say this.
yeah.
As belonging to a species which has conquered over the entire planet and now is continually doing things that are changing the atmosphere and the environment, which is making life difficult for other animals. Uh, some people said in this debate that we should just not come in their way and we should not go out of our way to harm them. But what I think is, it is our responsibility to safeguard their presence, and it is our responsibility to save the animals which are going extinct because of us. Because if you see, there are animals who are simply dying or simply have a hard life just because of us. And I think, about the milk and the eating meat. I really cannot say anything about that because I have not really given them any thought. But about the dairy and the poultry industries, I think they should be more humanized. As in, instead of cows being restricted to one quarter and then just being milked the entire day, I think they should be taken care of more humanely. I think it's our
Again, the
responsibility.
argument comes in when you bring humanity into it. There is scale to it. There is no human way, because the demand itself, and even if you let the cows roam freely, the very fact that you're taking the milk from the baby cow itself is not humane.
Well, then I think, can we just not say that we are doing the same thing that the other animals will do either way? For example, if you let the cow out, it would get hunted by some predator, right? Like, for example,
So is it going to a point where that you're saving the animals?
I think having a cow being exploited for milk is better than the cow dying.
Well, we have to let the cow to decide it, right?
Yeah, but cow cannot decide it,
No,
right?
cow cannot decide it. What I'm trying to say is it not for you and me to say, is it better for the cow?
Yeah, as I said, this humanity, right? This is simply from our perspective.
See, as I
No,
said,
when it
Europeans exploited Africans and Asians, right? Especially they took African slaves. That time they thought it was right, and they also said the slaves don't have any rights. They simply exploited them as much as they could. I mean, if you read the Belgian history, what they did in Congo, they didn't even feed the slaves. They simply used the slaves and disposed them. They starved them to death. They brought in new slaves, starved them to death by making them work and made a profit out of them. That's what they did. That's what I'm telling. I mean, it's actually the stronger ones who write the rules. But finally, they realized in 1800s, they realized that slavery is wrong and slavery is abolished, is all my point. So it is high time we do that as well.
For some reason, I thought about Jainism in this whole debate conversation in 5 minutes because somehow it felt like we don't want to harm an animal and we want to take a responsibility. And it felt like somehow we should give equal importance to other life forms as well. And definition of humanity is keeps on changing and evolving. So uh, just because someone has written something, we should not decide based on that.
I
That's what.
don't think that animals deserve, well, not deserve, but I don't think that animals can ever be given the same treatment as humans or the same level of respect or the same level of consideration as humans
They act-
because
There are few dogs which are treated better than a human.
it's because you use
Because
the
we
dogs
not
for
few
your,
dogs. There are a lot of dogs.
you simply use the dogs for your own emotional benefit.
It
That's
is
all.
yeah, just like an iPhone. Okay, it's a status show off. It's
Yeah, like for example, for some people, in fact,
a
I would argue
materialistic
most people,
approach.
yeah, I would argue for most people, an iPhone is worth more than a cat or a dog.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, you know,
With respect to dogs, there is emotions as well.
yeah, the
Come
dog
on,
is
man. I'm
also
so
emotional.
emotional about a screw. I kept it for 15 years. Emotion is, it's up to the person, right? I can be emotional about something. It doesn't mean that even if it is, let's say, the quote unquote non-carbon form, non-carbon based entity, a piece of steel which is so dear to me, for me it is more valuable than a human being, I would say.
Yeah, see, this is where the entire argument becomes completely vacuous because we cannot really judge if an animal is conscious or if it's deserving of love or not. It's completely subjective.
We can make a
Just
solid
because of that,
argument
we should
about
not make
veganism, but we cannot make a solid argument about. I mean, it's not like solid argument. It's like you can put forth your own views about the value of life. Again, I think even Mr. Raghav knows that it is not like a black and white uh, debate would be. But again, as you said, feelings are also a fact. So it's, but the point is you can choose your own feelings and
Now
do
the
what you
other
want.
question is that does subjective feelings mean the truth? Because as someone said that they kept a screw for 15 years. Now obviously for someone else that screw has no value, and if you give it to that person will be like ye kya hai? And like he will throw it away.
For them, subjective truth is truth for them, but scientific based, no, it is not. Tangible, no, it is not tangible.
Yeah, see, this is exactly another point on what makes us more conscious is because if someone came with a lab coat over to us and said that this animal is not as conscious as you think and he does not care about you, you can just throw away the research papers and you can still go home and yet love your animal.
Love is if you love your dog, it's all about you're loving a part of your brain that you put the image of your dog, right? It's not more of a dog itself. It's about the chemical reactions that you love in your brain because of your dog. We can go down to the path where it's all about
The
our own self.
same is true for the dog.
It's true for everything, right? It's all about your mental makeup.
I think I would like to go back to Ashwin's question, right? So he asked, what is the limit on which we should be allowed to sacrifice an animal for human consumption, whether for any purpose? I think I would go back to a place where we should not um, take advantage of animal or use it or in any way.
But then what about other animals who are taking advantage of other animals?
It's not in our control.
Correct.
Or we have anything to say about it? I mean, we can say anything about it, but the web of life goes on as it is, and we commenting on that or see, I cannot go out and save any other animal from other animals because they do whatever they want between themselves. But if you're going see as simple, see, I'll put it in a different way for Mr. Ashwin. Like, see, industrial farming of animals, it shouldn't exist. Okay, if you ask me the question of to what extent consumption of animal products shouldn't exist, that is the extent I would go. Apart from that, unnecessary or let's say demand based destruction of rainforests or wild sanctuaries, no. Apart from that, everything else that human progress, human development, human technology, we need to occupy certain part of earth. We are doing it, and there are some areas where, like, because of meat eating culture that has been on the rise for a very long time, which is contributing to most of the animal harming and also clearing of rainforest, because to grow food for the animals, not for us. We are already currently producing enough food for 11 billion people. So if someone is cutting down rainforest, it is definitely for feeding animal farming. So if you ask me that question, I would say animal farming should entirely be stopped, should be stopped. If someone wants to grow animals by their own, if someone argues, okay, I'm not a vegan, I'm a carnivorous, I come from the line of long line of tigers and lions, I challenge you to go out there and catch a chicken and eat it alive, including bones. Okay, prove it to me that you are a carnivorous, then you can grow your own chicken and you can eat your own chicken.
I think that's a very nice argument.
Yeah, I mean, Sandeep.
Yeah.
But let's say if we launch a rocket,
Yeah.
so many birds will go deaf and they will die also. And if you fly a plane,
So many humans
so
will
many
go deaf.
birds
Yeah.
will get sucked into the engine. So what about those
There
things?
is no engines on a rocket. If you're talking about sucking
No.
birds into engine, it's about
Plane and rocket are
aeroplanes.
different things, man. I was talking about rocket and plane is a different case. Two different
Okay.
cases. And also, if you drive a car in a freeway, not in a freeway, let's say highway at 80 kilometer per hour, I
Yeah.
have seen many videos of cows coming into the street and the car hits the cow. You cannot brake at that speed and completely come to a stop. And even
Yes.
cows die in the streets.
Well, I think that would be the same for humans as well. It would be a mistake, even if
See,
you killed a
on,
human like that.
But it
on
is
the same
humans who are doing all
argument, I
that.
told you, you constructed your home, you killed animals knowingly.
Yeah, but you can drive the car slowly and there is no need for rockets. There is no need for planes.
See, if it comes to that an argument, road should, when it comes to a point of efficiency, cars shouldn't exist, roads shouldn't exist, only trains should exist. If we go into the discussion of energy, we have to also see, if you want to do a holistic debate, this will go on like tangents and tangents and tangents. But if you really don't want, you cannot drive slow. It's not, see, human progress doesn't go back. Okay, we cannot take a step back. The human aspiration never steps back. That's the point. You cannot go to Mars, you cannot go to Saturn by driving slow. That's not how it works of human aspiration technology advancements. It's all about efficiency, going faster. This is a circle of life of it always comes down to entropy. Okay, you cannot
Indeed,
beat
but what I'm
entropy.
telling,
So,
what
what do you have to say about, if we just stop killing animals and stop eating them, that would you not be on purpose just blocking a majority part of your food supply that would feed a lot of humans, and you just,
Not really. We are growing plants which can satisfy the
well,
food
humans are
demand.
not really herbivores, nor are we
Yes,
carnivores.
they
We
are.
consume.
You can put it down there. If you want to argue that, I can put it up in 5 minutes. I can put all the arguments.
So, like, humans are not really herbivores, nor are we carnivores, really. We
They are
consume.
herbivorous.
We are not herbivores.
Yes, we are. Just because you eat meat, it doesn't mean you're a carnivorous.
No, our body is specifically made in ways that supports both
No,
carnivorous
your
diets and.
see. I'll give you. Let's start with an anatomy. Okay, your jaw, your face is bigger than your neck. You can find almost any carnivorous. Their neck is bigger than their appropriately no their head, so they can swallow the bones. Okay, first thing. Second thing, you don't have any the cannons that you see, the 4 cannons you see, they are also found in many herbivores to no
Well, no,
cut
that's
down some of the
that's
plants.
because human did not eat
No, let me
animals.
finish, please. Let
We
me finish. You can counter.
Okay, sure.
And the second thing, your large intestine, your small intestine, your large intestine is so large, no carnivorous would have that much of large intestine to absorb, to digest meat. And second thing, your small intestine is not capable enough, and the acid levels in your stomach is not capable enough to digest meat. And third thing, humans have become more intelligent before they have become hunters and gatherers. How intelligent you have to be to understand that you can make fire and you can invent cooking and you can cook meat so that the meat will become soft so that you can consume it and survive on it. The human brain feeds on glucose, not fats, not meat, nothing. Your brain, the most powerful organ in your brain, directly feeds on fruit, not even vegetables. The Jainism, it, the very concept of Jainism goes towards veganism, because they don't even eat plants that are grown under the soil. The fact is, the entire anatomy of yourself is made to eat fruits, not even vegetables. Okay, the human brain itself survives on glucose, which is found only on nature's fruits. Okay, our the entire evolutionary path, which even Darwin's theory is not able to explain, if it is survival of the fittest, why don't we have a competition? Why there is no other animal in the uh, on earth which is as intelligent as us? That is not been answered by Darwin's theory. And there is an alternative theory that our brain has grown on the tops of rainforest, that we have eaten fruit for a very, very long time, and our bodies have accustomed to a place where our head became so big, the human body is incapable. Today's human body has not evolved in such a way. Our brains have become so big that delivering a baby is so hard for women. So we are not carnivorous. Yeah, you can make your argument now.
So first of all, like you said, that humans just want glucose, and glucose comes from fruit. That's not really true, because glucose is simply a simple molecule which can be used for energy. Glucose can be derived from meat as well. In fact, it's much more efficiently derived from meat. And the second thing is that you said that we have, well, I would like to give you some historical context. For example, we are historically known to consume meat more than vegetarian things. And the other thing is that humans did not evolve to eat meat because we did not eat meat. Humans were not really in an advantageous position throughout the evolution. We were, in fact, the weaker ones in the food chain. So we did not eat meat. We used to eat bone marrows from carcasses of animals which have already been hunted. So, for example, a tiger comes, he hunts a goat, he eats the meat of the goat, Then he leaves, and after he leaves, we go to the goat and we scrape the goat for whatever meat is left, and we then crush its bone to extract bone marrow from the bone. This is how we also evolved.
Yeah, again, my question is how intelligent you have to be to understand to crush a bone to eat.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This is how we evolved tools, because we specifically evolved tools because we wanted to crush the bone marrows of animals so we can consume
No,
them.
no, what I'm questioning is your anatomy has grown from the herbivorous diet, and it has given you an intelligence where you have changed
It
your
has
own
not grown
anatomy.
from herbivorous diets. We have always been eating smaller creatures like squirrels and turtles.
We have not always been eating. Of course, we have been eating it for last 20 to 40,000 years, not before that. For
No, we
last
have always
40,000
been,
years,
like you said, like you gave an example of jaw, right? So Homo erectus and Homo neanderthals are known for their enlarged jaw size and bigger aorta simply because they ate meat. And even now, our jaw, the muscles in our jaw are the strongest muscles in our body. It can crush more than our hands. It's simply because to chew on bones and chew on hard meat. And also, there is this organ we have in our intestines, which was specifically evolved to digest meat. And evolution does not happen in thousands of years, it happens over a very long time. This part, appendix, it was specifically evolved to digest raw meat, not cooked meat, by the way, raw meat. It simply indicates that we used to eat raw meat and then we evolved cooking meat because it was.
whatever you have said, everything is correct. But the evidences show whatever I have said, it has it, eating meat has started happening only when we became hunters and gatherers. Is it true, or do you think it
No,
has happening before that?
it's been happening way before that.
That I don't think that is what it
Somebody
is.
posted an article in the WhatsApp group actually regarding how humans were vegans and that's how they have large brains.
No,
Somebody should check
Yes.
it out.
brains really like have nothing to do with uh, our being carnivorous.
Yeah,
So
I'll ask you a simple question. The only question I always come down to when it comes to veganism,
wait a
how
second.
intelligent you have to be to know that you have to cook meat.
We cooked meat because it simply tasted better. It was more
No, it is
suitable for
it is
us.
not. You're incapable of digesting raw
No,
meat
that's not true at all. You can digest raw meat. You can even digest raw meat right now.
Yeah, we can digest raw meat. That's true.
to an
So
extent, not
we
every
cooked
day.
we cooked meat because cooking meat ensures that it lasts longer, it tastes better, it's more eatable, so you do not have to spend any energy on consuming things that are supposed to give you energy. Also, it was the nutrition because I know that you might argue that humans are not capable of understanding what's giving them more nutrition, but it's the blood composition. See, our body notices things which don't necessarily have to be noticed by our brains. The body noticed things like the nutrition efficiency is better in cooked meat and
Okay,
the
fine,
ability
fine.
for you to
So you
derive
can argue,
resources.
you can give your organ argue and put out what are the facts that existed out there, because when it comes to data, there is a lot of data that proves that humans have been eating meat. I'm not questioning that. What I'm trying to question is, okay, I'll give a straight question. How do you think humans have become so intelligent? Why human species has become intelligent? Can you answer that question?
It's
Why?
because it's a
What is the
combination of accidents. First of all, like
no,
as I
not an
said,
accident. You have to have a series of no proofs
no,
why it has
see,
become.
the bird
Why human
that
brain?
is,
What
see, a bird that
we have
is,
the largest brain on the
we have
planet.
largest brain on, we don't have the largest brain on the
Yes,
planet.
we
We
have
have the
compared to our
largest
body. Relatively, our brain size relative to our body is very
No,
very big.
first of all, yeah, correction. We have largest brain compared to a body in the kingdom Animalia, which means just an animal. This does not include birds or underwater animals. And the second thing,
Which animal has the largest brain then?
well, I don't remember those details, but I remember this. I know this. We have the largest brain to body ratio in kingdom Animalia. And the second thing is, we did not see a bird, it does not choose to become a bird. It becomes whatever it has to be to survive. That's called the natural selection. So, when I said that we evolved
not-
to
The
harvest bone
Darwin's theory
marrow,
has a lot of pitfalls. Okay, don't take Darwin's theory as a fact that
but
that can
Darwin's
be
theory
quoted.
has been proven to be correct multiple times. It's a theory,
No,
I
it is
know,
not.
it's not proven.
It is still in the debate
It's
in
a
the scientific
functional
community.
theory. It's a functional theory, is what it
It
is.
is a
And it's
functional
debate,
theory, but
and
it
it's
has never
usually not.
given
It's
it has
not
never given a
debated because
solid.
it's wrong. It's debated because we need to refine it. The
No,
Darwin's theory itself has been
it has
changed
never
multiple
been
times.
given a solid explanation why human brain has become so big.
It has. See, it's it's just psychology, biological psychology. We evolved tools because it was better to harvest bone marrow from animals using tools. It was faster, quicker, more efficient. Even some of our relatives, right, chimpanzees and bonobos, they also have
No,
tools.
you brought a point where scavenging, our ancestors or whatever the relative, the, the monkeys, they never go scavenging for meat.
Because they don't
There was
stand
no.
a chance.
What do you mean they don't get a chance in the forest? They don't get a chance.
So what are you saying? Can you just clear it up first?
The first thing, the scavenger point is wrong. It has never been
How?
recorded.
What scavenger point?
No, you said we have been eating meat because we have been scavenging on the leftovers of the carnivores.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a recorded evidence. There are even fossils that
Yes, man,
prove this.
because after you have become intelligent, I'm asking the proofs before you have become intelligent.
Yeah, we
You're
have
quoting
eaten
you're
meat
quoting
before.
all these things which after we have become intelligent.
No, we have been consuming meat before we were intelligent. Do
You're
you
just
think
making a statement then.
no, do you think monkeys eat meat or apes eat meat or silverback gorillas
It
eat meat?
doesn't matter if they meet.
Do these
My point is
because
not my point. See, my
these
point is
are
not
literally our ancestors. We used to be
they are
them.
not our
Some of them,
ancestors. I'll
no,
let you
not
correct. They are not our
precisely.
ancestors.
They
They
are
are
our
closely related. They are not ancestors.
Yeah,
Our
they're
ancestors are
related,
dead.
but
Okay.
no, they're related. Yes, I agree. They're not really exactly our ancestors, but they closely follow the genetic material of our ancestors. So, if you know these animals which I just mentioned, these eat meat, then it's probably a safe assumption to
See,
assume that
my
we also used to eat meat.
it's not about assumption. Okay. What I'm trying to say is what you eat today. Okay, you eat a lot of things. You can eat pieces of plastic also. We are eating nowadays. It doesn't mean that you have been eating plastic for 2 million years, right? My point is, what is the reason our human brain is so big? That is the only question what I'm trying to ask.
It's because a bigger brain helps us to house more neurons.
No, no. What I'm asking is, what has led? What kind of lifestyle or what kind of evolution
It's a
has
lifestyle
made
of
human brain?
scavenging and language and communication.
So if scavenging has made human brain so big, why there are no other creatures that have?
Scavenging is not the sole reason to make us this smart. There are multiple
Then
reasons.
then which are those?
There are a lot of reasons. I cannot just list them all. There is like scavenging, discovery of fire, cooking of food, using
Again,
simple words for
how
communication.
intelligent you have to be to discover or make fire?
There is no metric to measure
There
it.
is no metric. There is not a metric. It is a metric. The very fact that our intelligence has led to a point where we invented all these things or
We have been we are known as opportunist herbivores, which means we eat plants as well, but we predominantly ate meat.
we
It's
don't even have we don't e- our the anatomy of our teeth itself doesn't support carnivores.
well because we cooked meat.
Exactly, but
Our
how
teeth were
intelligent you have
not
to be to cook meat?
our teeth were never this size. Our jaws
Doesn't
used to
matter.
be
You can go back to 2 million years. There are no cannons more than four.
which well then you are just judging that canines are the only things that are
Of course,
required for
the food you eat defines what your teeth are. There are
tigers also have four canines.
tigers have four cannons. Oh my god,
So how many canines do they have?
they have cannons. That's it. The full mouth is cannons.
Then it's maybe because of how they hunt. We are known for eating
You
meat.
need cannons. You need cannon teeth to tear the meat apart.
We do not rely solely on canines to eat meat.
Exactly. Why you have not relied? Because your brain is too intelligent. At that point, before you have eaten meat, your brain has become so more intelligent.
So what are you trying to reach at? Where are you trying
What
to
I'm
reach?
trying to reach is brain thrives on glucose.
Yeah,
On
in
the natural
glucose
and
is
our
much more
on our
efficient. Glucose is much more efficiently derived from non-veg.
yes, but you're not a carnivorous, that you are not eating. If it is derived from
We literally
meat,
are. We literally are a hybrid. We are an opportunist herbivorous. We
so
ate.
you're not giving a thought towards why has our brain has grown, and you're telling me we are eating meat, and you're telling me that we are eating meat because we are able to cook, and I'm giving you another question,
No,
why
that's not what I
how we have.
said. That's not what I said.
Then we have been eating meat, and then to make it efficient we are trying to cook. Is that how you're trying to say?
We have been eating meat. We slowly evolved ways to make our meat consumption more efficient and make the meat that we are consuming more efficient. So we started cooking it.
That's your assumption. That's what I
No,
would
that's
like to
not my
say.
assumptions. That's literally a recorded fact.
No, it is not.
That's literally a recorded fact.
No, it is not.
We evolved methods to cook meat, and then we consumed the cooked meat because it was more.
Okay, guys,
Again,
can you give evidence to support your claims, both of you, Sandeep and Himanshu?
yes, I'm giving you. I'm starting you with a teeth.
Proper articles.
Yeah, I can give you the articles. See,
Like-
I can debunk.
See,
Yes.
teeth is not the sole reason or the sole evidence.
Yes, it
You
is. The
cannot
survival
get
itself
teeth.
bases on what you eat.
You do not.
If without your teeth, how can you eat?
Well, how do you eat meat now?
Yeah, because you have become intelligent.
So, so is intelligence chewing on the meat?
Because your intelligence, you are able to eat anything you want. How intelligent? See, that is the very question I started with. How intelligent you have to be that you
what
know
you're
how to
saying,
cook.
no, what you're saying is that we are herbivores, even though we are eating meat now, and we have been eating meat for a very long
You
time.
can eat meat, man. Do you think a cow will die if you feed it meat? It will not die.
No, but it's herbivorous because it chooses not to eat meat.
Because we are so intelligent, we became so dumb enough we are eating meat.
Then where are you even reaching at then? What is your point?
What I'm trying to reach is we have evolved from. See, let me explain you. You can put your points. I'll put your points. I'll
Okay,
take your
see.
points into consideration.
Yeah, sure, go on.
You have to take my points into. If you can take my points into consideration. Okay, I'll give you a hypothetical way. I cannot prove anything. Let's say I cannot prove anything. Okay, there are proofs that I can provide, but let's for the sake of discussion, it is hypothetical. I'll give you a scenario. Just give you a thought. Okay, I'll give you a hypothetical situation. For millions of years, the mammals or whatever ancestors what we have derived ourselves from have grown on top of a canopy. Okay, at certain location in African subcontinent, today's African subcontinent, there is a dense forest where no carnivores can hunt us down. Okay, I'm giving you a hypothetical scenario. Okay, this is how scientific methodology works, right? You hypothesize something and then you try to disprove it. So you have grown on the tops of canopies of trees and you have eaten fruit for thousands of years, and because you have been eating fruit and the brain grows because of you eating fruit. Okay, it derives that energy from fruit.
No.
And your brain has, sorry,
Brain has nothing to do with fruits.
if you are agreeing that we have grown to an extent because of glucose, and you're telling me that again,
We are not growing because of glucose. Glucose is a simple energy molecule.
why do you think there is a diabetic apocalypse everywhere? Because humans are
Because we cannot
tendency.
control our diets.
Yeah, because it is ingrained into our brains to eat sugar.
No, it's not simply to eat sugar. We do not really need sugar. If you never,
You do not really eat sugar. That is
if
how
you
you
stop
survive.
eating, no, because what sugar you're talking about is sucrose and fructose, the sugar present in the fruits. That is
Yes.
the sugar that is present in it. We need
See,
glucose.
certainly the human body
We need
has.
glucose, and glucose can be
You're not letting
made
me
more.
finish the theory that I'm trying to give.
But you're simply just simply saying that we are smart because of fruit. Okay, go on.
I'm clearly explaining you that it is a hypothetical scenario. What else you want me to do here?
Well, this hypothetical scenario is not really aligning with any biological facts.
Because you're not giving a fact why we don't have cannons. If you're telling me that we are meat
Well,
eaters,
your argument is that we are herbivores because we don't have as many canines as a tiger, which is
we
made
don't
to
even have
forcefully
cannons.
hunt.
Okay, these cannons
A
are to
tiger,
tear up.
okay, here a tiger is made to hunt aggressively, and
Yes.
it has specific jaw muscles that are made so it can grab onto a deer with its jaw and eat it while it's struggling. That's why it has so many canines. Its jaw
Okay.
is specifically engineered so that it can hunt animals who are being aggressive or who are being like moving a lot while it's consuming them.
Okay.
We don't we
What
don't
about other? What
we
about
don't
other?
run to
All
see.
carnivores.
Well, they all have the specific styles in how they approach meat.
They all have cannons. The
Yeah, they
fox,
all have canines because
the
most
dogs.
of them are evolved in certain ways. Like, for example, if it's a four-legged animal which can run, which has a similar anatomy to a tiger, it's specifically made to hunt on prey which is running away, which is aggressive and which will fight back if it's hunted. If it's hunting a
Then we
deer
cannot
will
hunt.
move. It's
We
not, they
cannot
are not playing
eat.
a game of pakadam pakadai that like a tiger runs up to a deer, he touches the deer and deer is like, okay, I lost.
Human beings are not capable of hunting without external tools.
Ex- no, we do not specifically need to hunt animals that are running. We have been
Then
eating
what?
squirrels and rabbits and everything. That does not,
Catching a rabbit is easy.
it's relatively easy than hunting a deer. Even hunting a deer is easy if you do it, if you plan it. This is exactly why we evolved intelligence because we required intelligence to hunt these
So if it
animals.
is so, why there are
How
no
can you hunt a
other?
deer without a tool, man? Himanshu.
He will hunt.
You
He
can
will
hide
hunt.
in, you can hide in the foliage, wait for a deer to approach. When it approaches, then then you leap at it and you grab it by its neck.
That's also a tool,
If
right? Whatever.
what tool? You
I
simply
can
use the
guarantee you,
bare
if
fist.
tomorrow everyone have to go hunt and eat, human race will
You could
perish.
definitely hunt a deer like that. You could definitely hunt a deer like that.
You hunt a deer, you eat every part of it, and you digest it. You have to eat the skin, you have to eat the fur, you have to eat the bones.
No one ate the fur. Only tigers eat the fur.
Carnivores don't choose to eat a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
They
Carnivores
consume
eat
every
it
single part to maximize their consumption, and
because they have been evolved to do just that. We
their
instead
small
evolved.
intestine has so much powerful digestive liquids that they can digest.
It's not because they eat meat, it's because they run. It's because they're more physically active. So having extra weight of meat inside will handicap them. Also, the energy, the prolonged
No,
energy.
what I'm trying
Even
to
we
say is the
required like
digestive
four.
liquids are so powerful to digest meat. Human,
It's simply because it cannot cook, so it made it so digestive
why
liquids.
it cannot cook?
Does not
It
have
can
been.
cook. It has been carnivorous for a very long time. It is so intelligent. It can cook.
No, it is
Why
not
not?
intelligent. It is a carnivorous. It's
The
because of its
why human
anatomy,
beings are intelligent then?
because they evolved communication. It does not mean that we have not been consuming meat. We have been consuming meat.
I'm telling you, we have been consuming eat meat, but we are not
We
carnivorous.
predominantly consumed meat
Guys,
So,
one
dude, if
second.
you're not
I'd
going to
like to
acknowledge why we don't have cannons, I don't have any discussion
because
anymore.
you're
Sorry.
simply basing the ability of
I'm
being
not simply basing it. I'm
simply
just
basing
asking. I'm
everything
giving
on
you.
being canines.
Guys,
When I just
I'm
one
giving. If you
interruption.
cannot disprove
wait a
why we cannot
second.
have cannons,
I
then
just proved to you tigers
you
have
didn't
canines
prove it.
because they're more aggressive.
Guys, just a
Can't
small
be-
interruption. I'll make somebody the host because I got to go. Who's ready to be the host?
I think we should all just go. Maybe we can
Yeah.
have this debate sometime else.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
maybe
do it
like
at some time else. Right.
No,
yeah,
you
we
can
can
continue. It's
come
okay.
with better evidence.
Whoever wants to continue can continue.
You don't have the evidence, man.
No, we do. It's literally a recorded fact. I do not even need to search anything.
You don't
Okay.
have to search. You have to just like you can.
I
Other guys,
literally
you can
justified,
leave.
I literally justified to
If
you
you
by
cannot prove why humans have don't canons, then you lost the debate. You prove just one thing. Just one thing you can prove. You can send all the.
I
You
literally
can find
just
all the
I
evidence you
literally
want.
just
Manju, if you want to stop debating, then put it on the chat. Whatever you claim, put it on the chat so that it will come up in the veganism debate automatically.
it takes a long time. It's like very boring and stuff. It's now see, I literally proved
Himanshu,
why
it's simple
tigers
as
have
it is.
canines.
You don't
Did
have
I
canons,
prove to
okay?
you? Did I prove to you or not that why tigers have canines?
What?
Did I prove to you or justified the use of canines in carnivores like tigers?
There are whatever you have said could be a reason, but it is not the only reason. I'm talking about when it comes to the food and how you eat. You can prove you can prove in any ways why lions have cannons, but you haven't proved me why humans doesn't have.
Well, you haven't done that either.
I did.
You're
Himanshu,
basic.
you're the host now, okay? Just for your information. You can end it whenever you want. You're the host of the debate.
Okay. Well, you're simply basing off being carnivorous and herbivores simply on teeth.
Of course, because that is we are talking about food, right? Your teeth are the first thing that plays the majority of the role. What type of food you eat, isn't it? If
Well, I
you
would
say
argue
no, if you
otherwise.
say no for that,
I could really argue otherwise. If you want, let's just continue this someday else and we can come with better evidence to support both of our beliefs.
I'll come down to again back to the teeth only, because you cannot disprove it. I can put thousands of arguments, but if you cannot disprove why you don't have cannons, then the debate over there.
But you cannot base anything on solely canines. I'm pretty sure there are animals who do not have teeth at all which consume meat.
Yeah, please do find. They are again. You said we are opportunities herbivores. You can say they are opportunity carnivores.
I guess then we just reach tangent on tangent. Let's just end this debate.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Hmm.